People are forgetting the basics and are jumping through loops, doing crazy treatments, going the extra mile, doing crazy testing, and forgetting how old people actually live and what are the challenges that they actually face. Aging is one thing. Living a long life is one thing, but the most important thing is living a long life in a good state, where you're able to move, able to travel, able to feed yourself, able to look after yourself and not be dependent on others. Everyone's talking about muscle mass, and it is true. Muscle mass is very important for bone mass, but mobility is just as important. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. Today we're going to talk about everything you are not told about longevity. So longevity has become a massive buzzword and everyone's talking about it, but no one is talking about what I'm about to bring forward today. People are forgetting the basics and are jumping through loops, doing crazy treatments, going the extra mile, doing crazy testing, and forgetting how old people actually live and what are the challenges that they actually face. So as it turns out, I have quite a few elderly friends, and I'm someone who loves observing. I'm always observing people, so I think it's because of this job. Wherever I go, I will be noticing that someone has, a little ring around their eye, and maybe that's a sign of cholesterol, or maybe the little thing around the corner of the mouth is a sign of B12 deficiency, or I'm always observing and semi-diagnosing people in my head, although I would never voice it without doing a test. And I'm absolutely professional in my nutritional practice, but I like to observe people, and it helps me connect dots, and it helps me offer solutions to people in my private practice. It is my job to look, observe, research, and try to connect dots. So one of the things that I do is look at how people age. What do they do? What do they not do? What are the things that might have accelerated their aging? What are the things that might have slowed down their aging? Aging is one thing. Living a long life is one thing, but the most important thing is living a long life in a good state, where you're able to move, able to travel, able to feed yourself, able to look after yourself, and not be dependent on others. My definition of well aging is sharp brain, good cognitive function, and mobile body, really good mobility and physical function. How do we achieve this? The first thing is, and the most overlooked thing, and I have not heard people talk about this, but in my mind, it is absolutely essential. This is something that people used to do in the past for centuries. This is a thing that we used to do, and it has nothing to do with exercise, nor calories, nor diet. It doesn't have anything to do with what you put in your body. It has to do with one of the most overlooked functions that we have that's embedded in the body. And it is our biological clock. We have an internal clock. It's called the circadian rhythm. And what I notice in people who age well is that they eat and sleep at the same time every day. Just like a baby who's on a routine. Breakfast is at 7 or 8, you name the time. Lunch is at 1, dinner is at 6. Do the same thing the next day. So they eat at regular times and they do not snack. This is the previous generation. The new generation, we eat whenever we can, whenever we don't have a meeting, and we grab food whenever we feel hungry. Personally, I think that's wrecking our bodies. We have this internal clock and the body requires this regularity. Why does it require the regularity? So, we have a digestive system. When the food arrives every day around the same time, It means that excretion, bowel movements, going to the bathroom, pooing, is around the same time every day. When we do not snack, we're giving a chance for the body to burn through the sugar that's in the blood and to do that little cleanse internally until the next meal. And then again. By stopping eating at 6 p.m. and then having the next meal the next day at 7 a.m., let's say, or 8 a.m., you're doing your overnight fast of 12 hours, 13 hours, not extreme. No need to go to 16 hours. But you're having these periods of fasting between meals and then the overnight fast for that overnight cleanse and for the body to repair. We have forgotten the art of eating at the same time every day, and I think that is wrecking our bodies. Babies thrive on a routine. Dogs thrive on a routine. Adults, humans, you thrive on a routine whether you know it or not. So one of the first things I would advise you to do if you are looking to age well is to try and eat at the same time every day and to not eat between the meals if you can. Do I do it? Not always. I'm just as guilty as you are of fitting in a meeting here and a Zoom there and this here and that there, and we're all traveling and moving. But when is my body the most performant? It's when I'm on a routine. It just works. The internal clock works better, so blood sugars will elevate around the same time every day, so the body is prepared to deal with that. The body is receiving food at the same time every day, and that clock is set in place. You end up going to the bathroom and having your bowel movement around the same time every day. The body knows what to expect. It also is better for metabolism. So whenever things are not around the same time, that slightly elevates cortisol levels, and that can have a negative impact on your metabolism, meaning you're going to burn less. When the body has the certainty that food is arriving around that same time every day, that can lower cortisol levels. I have definitely noticed that people who age well eat at regular times, so try and do that. That is the first thing. The second thing that is underrated for aging is everyday little movement. I'm not talking about big workout sessions. I'm not talking about exerting yourself. I'm not talking about running marathons. I'm not talking about doing Ironman. I'm not talking about going on a hard class. I'm talking about daily movement. For example, I have a friend of mine who's in his 90s and he is in really good health, physically and mentally. He lives in a house in London and goes up the stairs and down the stairs every day. And this little daily movement is, in my mind, so powerful. My own father, who's 81, can go up 4 floors every day. I'll just give you an example. He lives in Morocco. He came to Paris. We got a flat that was on the 4th floor without an elevator, without a lift. And I said to him, "Oh, Papa, is it a problem?" He said to me, "Not at all." Why? Because he walks for 2 hours every day at 81 years old. Walking just 7,000 steps a day cuts your chances of all mortality of dying by 50%. Small daily movement is absolutely essential. That's why having a dog, for example, has been linked to lower cardiovascular incident, lower chances of stroke, lower chances of diabetes, and so on. Because not only you're getting that oxytocin of cuddling the dog, which reduces cortisol levels, but also, generally, someone who has a dog will go for a little walk 2 or 3 times a day. And these little movements are very important. I have noticed that people who are older, who live with less help, are in better shape because they have to do things for themselves. And these things are the little movements. As we age, and particularly for women, as estrogen levels drop, we can get joint pain, things get stiffer. And how do you get less joint pain? How do you get more flexibility in the joint? Are you less stiff as you age? Is by moving. So movement will trigger the release of synovial fluid, which is like a lubricant. It's like oiling your joints. So moving on a daily basis, whether it is to open a pot or walk the dog or go up and down the stairs or do gentle yoga, is the key for well aging. Everyone's talking about muscle mass, and it is true. Muscle mass is very important for bone mass. Muscle mass improves blood sugar levels. Muscle mass improves longevity. But mobility is just as important. Because you can see that people who do not move start stiffening. They harden. The joints harden. The range of movement is smaller. So you want to be doing twists. You want to be moving your ankles. You want to be moving your wrist. You want to be moving your neck. You want to continue these small little movements that don't look so big. Just a gentle yoga session on a daily basis and a walk will massively improve your health outcomes. And when I talk about small little movements, carrying the shopping. And that brings me to the next very important thing that has been well documented. It's social interactions. Older people were part of society and had many more social interactions. Nowadays, people move, migrate. Society is less glued together as it was 50 years ago. Communities have disappeared. And as a result, social interactions can decrease. In villages, going to the temple, going to church, going to the local area where we gather is extremely good for your health. Going and doing the little movement of shopping for food versus getting food delivered will bring you movement and will also give you a social interaction. All these things are good for you. Social interactions really help because they lower cortisol levels. The reason for that is humans are social beings. Without the group, we do not survive. That's why rejection feels so horrible, because instinctively we know that without the group, we do not survive. And that's why, for example, teenagers who haven't, understood maybe this, they will feel it very strongly if there is a rejection. As we age, we know that we're social beings and it's the instinct kicking in and we're not going to die if someone stops talking to us. But when we're young, we feel it very strongly. So for our cortisol levels to lower, and as a result for our chronic inflammation to lower, and as a result for gene expression to not happen, having social interactions is very helpful. Social interactions also have shown to lead to more stable blood sugars. So for example, eating a meal on your own versus eating a meal shared with friends will have a different impact on your blood sugar levels. It has been proven scientifically that eating in company will elevate your blood sugar levels less with the exact same foods. And that's because humans are social beings. So keeping part of a community, continuing to have social interactions as much as possible is absolutely key for aging. And that is exactly the reason why I never want to stop working. Because working is a way of getting those social interactions and of being needed in society. You can see it so many times when people retire and suddenly they start developing health issues. My interpretation is that there is less movement, less social interactions, you're feeling less relevant in the world. So I don't think that retirement or early retirement is an end goal. In fact, as I was saying, I never want to stop working for longevity purposes. These are the things that you don't hear about. The circadian rhythm, eating and going to bed around the same time every day. The little movements that are not big, that are not loud, that don't feel like you're doing something huge, but they're making a real difference to your health. And the social interactions you're having with people. So I'll give you one last example. If I go to the supermarket and I have the choice between checking out at the automatic checkout with the machine versus going in front of a human, I will go in front of the human, because also your exposure to other humans increases your T cell count, which is your immune system. We've seen that doctors have a very high T cell count because they're more exposed to germs and because they have more social interactions. Social interactions are super important for the immune system, for cortisol levels, for longevity, and for mental well-being. So get out of your homes, move, walk, meet people, and try and eat around the same time every day. These are the 3 things that you don't hear about longevity that anyone can do and that cost absolutely nothing. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this helpful. Make sure to share with friends and with anyone who might enjoy this listen. Thank you so much to all of you for listening to this podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. It's always such a pleasure to talk about health because it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Looking after our health is a daily thing, just like brushing our teeth. We've got to focus on it, we've got to do it right so we can live better and happier lives. For those of you who are not members of the platform yet, we have a discount code for all our podcast listeners. You can get 15% off the memberships. Just enter the code podcast15 at checkout. And make sure to read all the articles and all the free content we have on eatburnsleep.com to keep you motivated and informed and educated about living an anti-inflammatory lifestyle.